we got started, we met at a Climate Action Kenora meeting. So we really got together out of a concern for climate change and what that meant for our future. We all had experience in agriculture and had mostly come to it through our education of how modern industrial agriculture contributes towards climate change, and not just climate change, but ecological degradation. I'm not sure how familiar with people would be with this, but industrial agriculture is one of the highest causes of greenhouse emissions. And not only that, but it has a lot of other impacts on the landscape. And the way that agriculture is practiced now through monoculture, you can see the fields of wheat and corn and soy, and really have taken out lots of the trees and perennial crops. It decreases the biodiversity and also increases things like soil erosion, phosphate runoff, nutrient loading of water systems, drying up of streams, using up of water aquifers, lots of really harmful impacts on the landscape, how we get our food today. It's miraculous how we can feed so many people, but it's really happening at a rate that is reducing the ability of the land to produce food for future generations. So we saw problems not with just climate change, but also how agriculture is being done on a large scale. And they felt like such big problems, but we wanted to just start where we were, start locally, start having conversations. And we thought a good way to start doing this would be to create a micro farm. So as I was sharing the other concerns about climate change and the sustainability of the global food system. And it wasn't just these concerns. We really felt like in this project that we wanted to do, we wanted to connect people in a way that we aren't connected in society today. We kind of saw lots of issues that we felt could be addressed through our work of bringing people together and growing food together, both in health of our bodies and mental health and just health of our communities. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Erin.
All right, thanks, Jake. Can people hear me okay? Okay, this is weird because I can only see Jake's bubble, so.
We can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me? Okay, great. So yeah, as an organization, we took a lot of time in our early days to really get some clarity on our mission, vision, values, and we wanted to take some time to share those with you today. So this is kind of our little pictograph. So I wanted to include a word about our organizational structure as well, because I think it's really important for you to know how we operate as a group, because it's not your standard, we're not your standard run-of-the-mill kind of gang of people getting things done. We really value kind of a hierarchical structure of doing things. So the way we've decided to operate is as a collective council. So that's really everyone who wants to participate in the collective decision making, which usually takes place on our Thursday night meetings and is open to everyone who wants to join. We discuss all of our various ongoings and projects. And so we come up with all these different project groups. And so in the different circles around the outside, you can see each of those ones represents a different project group that we have going on. So project groups are autonomous groups who take responsibility for carrying out projects. They direct their own activities and give reports to the collective council. Projects proceed with the project group, and both councils come to an agreement on the project outline. One. So anyone can participate in any project group that's going on, and you can take part in one or all. But really just kind of whatever suits your interest and level of implication. So the Collective Council is the central hub of the collective where project groups collaborate. They host operational meetings and also member meetings where direction is set for the collective. So this is really kind of the nuts and bolts of our organization. And then the Roots Council is the overseeing, it's our fancy way of saying the board members. So they really take ownership of making sure that the mission, vision, values of the organization are respected at all times with all of our undertakings, and that financial clarity is always maintained in whatever we're taking on. And of course, because it's a board of directors, these people are elected to the body to empower the collective, and it holds a legal designation. Yeah, so I thought that might be helpful to understand going forward as we talk about the different undertakings that we've initiated within our organization.
So really a lot of our energy has been focused on the home run gardens. That's what we call our collective micro farm in the old Kuwaitan ballpark. Probably lots of you would be familiar with the park's history as a baseball diamond in years gone by. And so with our name, we just want to kind of pay homage to that. But yeah, when we got started, we just asked the city if we could do it. Basically, we said we had this thing we want to do, and we brought up this location in particular. And they said that if you go and talk to the residents in the area within a certain radius and hold a meeting that they're invited to, and you don't get opposition, then you can go for it. And yeah, we went and knocked on a bunch of doors, and we had a few people come to our meeting, and everyone was supportive. So we broke ground in 2019 with a 40 by 60 garden plot. And the way we structured it was that we would hold work parties and garden parties. So a work party was just like when we do like the bed digging. We had it on a Saturday, invited people to come out for a 2-hour time period. And to our surprise, 20 people came with shovels in hand, and we got the beds dug. And that was great. I was working as a casual EA at Beaver Brae at the time, and roped a gym class into helping us spread compost and wood chips in the pathways. And that was great. And it was really actually neat to see how some of the students who had been sort of less engaged in the gym class became more engaged in the garden, and also some vice versa. But yeah, just sort of different things are being done. Yeah, and that was great. And then we had people up for doing the transplanting, and then for the maintenance, we hosted garden parties twice a week. Wednesdays and Sundays. And basically how those worked is people could come and we would tell them, okay, we're weeding this bed, or we're doing this and that. These can be harvested. And so they would come and volunteer, and in exchange for their labor, they could take home produce. And it wasn't like a set amount, it's just kind of whatever people wanted to bring home. And that's how we have continued to do it. So there's the leaders take care of the management. I'm the farm coordinator, and so kind of plan out what's going to be planted where with input from the collective. Enjoy some photos from our first season. We really got lucky with that spot. I mean, we are experienced gardeners, but it's a fantastic spot from a garden. Before it was a ball field, it was a swamp. It's a real bowl there, so there's lots of water, sometimes too much. But it's pretty fertile soil, and with the compost, things just grew like gangbusters. And a local artist, Lori Dufresne, painted the sign for us. So in 2020, we expanded. The first year, I wanted to go big, and Erin had to kind of hold me back. Like, okay, let's hold our horses here, Jake. Let's start slow and build. So that's what we're into. We're starting slow and building, which I think does us well. But in 2020, pandemic hit, and we are still determined to to go forward and get bigger. So that's what we did. So it's now 60 feet by 130 feet. And just to sort of conceptualize that, that's, well, right now we're at 35 beds that are all 25 feet apiece and about 30 inches across. So you can see the size of the beds more or less in the upper left-hand corner there. You can see all the spoiled hay that we're using as mulch. We added a hand wash station up front because hand washing became very important in 2020. A scarecrow, and we also put in a dry toilet, which was pretty important for when people were there and needed to use the bathroom, because that was kind of a gap before that may have hindered people from enjoying the garden parties fully. And waiting for it to change. Again, I'm a little behind on the clicking because now it's just more pictures. And I think we'll probably talk about it a bit more, but in 2020, we also started a market stand. So volunteers get first pick of the produce, and like, if the volunteers got everything, that would be great. But inevitably there's surplus. Like anyone who gardens knows, zucchini comes on heavy, and when the beans are ready, you got beans coming out of your ears. So we saved some to do preservation workshops, but the market was really great because it engaged people in a new way and just helped us move some of that surplus produce that may have otherwise gotten, we would always use it. We donated stuff too, but it's a good pathway. And then in 2021, still the same size, but we added some more beds. We got a grant from T-Baytel that helped us build some stuff. We built a wash table, which was pretty huge, getting to wash the produce at the garden rather than in people's kitchens at home. We got a picnic table with an umbrella and a tool shed to put our tools in. And yeah, again, the garden flourished. People came. We hosted more events. We were doing 3 garden parties a week, 2 in the evening, and then on Friday during the day. We were able to fund my position part-time. So I was still putting in a lot of volunteer, but some of it was getting compensated. We, in the bottom right corner, you can see that's the adventure camp. I think David White runs the adventure camp. So 3 weeks in a row, he brought his campers out and we played Guess What This Plant Is in the garden, and everyone had a great time. And I was impressed. There was usually like one kid in the group who just knew what everything was. It's probably the kids whose family's garden. We had a super harvest event, we call it. So we harvested a bunch of stuff from the garden and cooked it up in soup right there in the garden. Had about 30 people out enjoying a meal together, which was really great. And it was neat to see how different people came out to that. Like different people come out to different kinds of things. So there's really opportunities for to engage people from diverse groups there.
So now I'm talking about our farm management philosophy, which is really important. That we've proceeded with things down in a way that is respectful to the ecological area and climate conscious as well. So one of the big things that we do is that we practice no-till, which just means that you're not disrupting the soil and not turning the horizons of the soil, so that what would be on the surface turned deeper underneath, which is a really common farming practice for aerating the soil and helping to bring warmth to the soil, but it's also really destructive to soil microbes, and ultimately is quite degrading to the topsoil. So the no-till approach has 2 benefits for us, in that it helps build the health of the soil and respect those microbes, but it also is helping to promote curation. So all the carbon captured in the soil isn't being released to the atmosphere. And so diversity of crops that are rotated on around the garden on an annual basis. So we grow we grow pretty much everything that you'd expect in a market garden. your carrots and peas and tomatoes and lettuce and, well, you name it, we probably grow it. Lots of perennial crops as well. So strawberries and raspberries. We planted a bunch of haskaps last year. We started to establish an asparagus patch and rhubarb as well. And I think that we're going to be incorporating some sunchokes this year, which I'm really excited about. And perennials are, so I'm not sure if everyone here is aware of the distinction between a perennial and an annual crop is. So an annual, you plant a seed every year, whereas a perennial, it'll overwinter in the ground and then grow back the following year. And perennial crops in general are much less for nutrients from the soil. So they're much less demanding on the soil fertility. And therefore, we believe that they're also part of the solution going forward, because Western diets are so reliant on annual crops, which suck a lot out of the soil, which is on a global scale right now. That's one of the reasons that we're so dependent on chemical fertilizers. And so that brings me to my next point, is that we are proponents of the organic approach for both pest management, but also fertility management. And so we don't use any harmful chemical pesticides, herbicides, or fertilizers of any sort. We really try and practice natural methods in a holistic way in the garden. So that also really feeds our need to get creative and be innovative with some of our solutions. And it can require a lot more manual inputs, but we're happy to spend time in the garden. So that's just part of the fun. And we really take great pride in taking that sort of approach, but it's also part of growing our resilience as a community and equipping ourselves, all of ourselves, and all the people that come through the garden and grow with us with the knowledge and tools and know-how. The City of Kenora's Sustainability Action Plan that was created after their second round of consultations with the public. And I thought it was just so beautiful. It's a beautiful depiction, but it also really speaks to the desire from the greater community and the community at large for the types of initiatives that we're putting forward. You can see in the top right-hand corner that we're named as a partner with the city, but also that there's a desire among the broader public to be supporting local food production efforts and to be allowing citizens to take ownership of these public spaces and do the sort of things we're really striving for. So we continue to work really closely with the city, and they've been amazingly supportive of everything we've done. But we're really heartened and excited by the Sustainability Action Plan that they are putting together, and hopeful that we'll be able to continue accomplishing bigger and better things with each year. We have so many other initiatives on the go. That kind of comes back to that circle of project groups that I showed you at the beginning. Basically, if we've dreamt it up and someone has the energy to spearhead it and the rest of the collective can support it and it aligns with our mission, vision, and values, then we take it on. So we all do different projects that have our umbrella in this number of years. The Resiliency Garden campaign was a really big one for Seeds of Resilience and crops. So I have just one quick slide on each of these things going forward. So Jake already spoke to the market stand, so I won't take up too much more time on that, but it's a weekly offering down at the old Kuwaitan Park under the pergola, and all produce is sold by donation, making it accessible to everyone regardless of their kind of income. We have a few different platforms. My favorite is the Harvest Hauler. So if we're not familiar with that, that's the newsletter for Inspiration Strikes. So it contains all sorts of gardening, wisdom, knowledge, know-how, insights, just thoughts and riffing on whatever we're inspired to write about in the moment. It's a lot of fun. We enjoy putting it together as a collective. And we've amassed almost 100 subscribers now, so that's fun to know that people are following along with our work and checking in on whatever we feel inspired to riff on about. But yeah, so it's a really great resource as well. All of our past issues are archived there. And our social media team has done an absolutely admirable job of moderating and facilitating our Harvest Kenora page. Now has over 1,000 members, I believe. So that's just incredible. And that's a platform where people are encouraged to, well, gardeners, I think mostly gardeners within the Northwestern Ontario, but I'm sure beyond that as well. Kind of come and connect and ask each other questions and share stories. So the Resiliency Garden campaign it's a completed project now. It's behind us, but it is it's kind of the projects that actually really brought us together as a collective and really helped us as an organization to start operating that way. And it was our response to the pandemic. So back in March of 2020, when there was so much uncertainty around the world, and here, you know, we weren't. I don't know if you guys remember that moment in time, but the province shut down access to public parks at that time, and we were not certain they were going to allow us to go back into our garden for that season. And so we need to mobilize people to be able to grow gardens in their own backyards and facilitate that. If they can't come out and garden with us, we need to decentralize our activities. And so we pivoted and we applied for a grant with the community, and they gave us $2,000 to get this campaign rolling. It's really exciting. We set up a survey and we told people, if you live in the Kenora region, just sign up and we'll set you up with supplies for a backyard garden, either a container garden or in the soil, and you could choose on what suited your kind of life situation at the moment. So we had all sorts of different packages available. People could request up to 4 containers for their container gardens, and they could also indicate what they were trying to achieve. And we all sets up with seeds, transplants, carefully nurtured transplants, which we all grew from seed, the collective for them, and nurtured until the day of delivery. As a delivery, and little packets of information, kind of giving people the knowledge that they needed to try and set up a successful garden. And this was all assembled and distributed free of charge, with the exception of the soil. Only the delivery was free of charge. But it was a truly incredible response that we garnered. Over 130 households were set up with garden supplies for that season.
We started a seed enterprise because we thought it would be vital to our mission and vision to be able to grow seeds locally rather than relying on them coming in from far away, as we saw there were some issues with seed supply when the pandemic hit. And so we've started just by buying in bulk and repackaging seeds that we're familiar with or we think will grow well here. And then we're slowly building our capacity to grow our own seed here as well. We host lots of workshops around food preservation and seed starting. So it's mostly canning, tomatoes, salsa, pickling, and starting seeds. It was great when those were in person. Virtual has some challenges, but we've done it virtually too. And Erin, I'll go back to you for this.
Okay, so we've been really heartened by the impacts that we've been able to see resonate through our work. So I'll just kind of rattle these on off in the nature of time. So education and gardening through a minimum of twice weekly Skillshare events, increased connection amongst neighbors by collaborating on work and sharing the rewards. That's been so huge. Improved mental health amongst participants, increased community access to healthy local food at an affordable cost by donation at the market and free of volunteering. Increased awareness about food, especially amongst children and youth. Intergenerational social integration, which I so appreciate. a sense of belonging by participants, green like revitalization and building capacity of participants from new gardeners to new farmers. A part-time coordinator, farm coordinator for the garden, to continue ensuring nation of care of home run gardens. Jake has been wearing this hat as farm coordinator, and he's in an incredible number of hours, which are not and we would like to be able to just be able to provide a livable income for people that dedicate so much time and energy to ensuring that our initiative is a long success. Yeah, the next one is to build a multi-purpose space in the interest of long-term sustainability of maintaining home run gardens. Because at the moment, a lot of our tools and equipment and resources are kind of scattered around, stored in the homes of diverse collective members, and we kind of ferry these things around to try and make sure that they get to the gardens when and where they're needed. But it's not a very resilient model. It's worked for us to date because we haven't had a protected storage, large storage area, and refrigeration is a really big thing as well. A lot of people, well, mostly Jake houses a lot of produce, but we try and do our bit to house produce in our refrigerators. Just kind of trying to the supermarket or the Hungry Pug or wherever they're gonna end up, wherever their destination is, if they're not actually meant for our fridge. And that's just not sustainable practice for us. So we would really like to be able to have a little building that has a solar power array that can power a refrigerator at the very least. And we have bigger dreams for this space as well. A space where we can socialize indoors, for moments when the bugs are crazy or the heat is just nuts. So that's one of the things going. And then lastly, we'd really like to start doing a mini farmers program that will attract young families with young children to the garden space. And I've two boys, and so this is a bit of a selfish initiative for me. I really want to be able to create a sense of community for them in a venue that I love, that also enables them to learn about the garden and grow with it. So interesting programming has been developed, and a nutritious snack will be included each week.
Yeah, so just quickly, we are looking for support so we can do those things that we just mentioned, and we really feel that we are bringing value to the community and that we're worth investing in. The future presents many challenges, and we're really up to facing them with optimism, believing that there's a better, more vibrant future that's possible for our community, and that we want to work towards that with other people and other organizations collaboratively. And we've done lots in our short time that we've been around, and we want to do more and keep building. And some examples of things that we would like to do in the future and that we feel are possible is a farm school, more local food businesses. This experience has inspired me and equipped me to plan to start a farm in 2023. And we want to see more stuff like that happening, and also more micro farms around the city are possible. So if anyone's interested in supporting us, more volunteers, that's how we power almost everything. So to help maintain the home run gardens and get involved in the organization, we are in need of money, the resource of capital, to invest in the building and the solar, and also to support a wage. And just spreading the word about our work to people you think are interested in organizations. We want to find a way to make this sustainable, and we think partnering with organizations who do have more money, who can incorporate home run gardens into their programming, and that we can generate revenue from that is an option for us to make our operation sustainable. So thank you so much for listening to our presentation.